Today, the names of the 3 witnesses that will testify at the upcoming House Oversight Committee UFO hearing scheduled for July 26 have been officially announced. Before I reveal those names for you, I just want to show you 2 clips that truly contradict each other. And this contradiction is hugely problematic if indeed it's true the US government wants the public to have trust in it as an institution. Because what's coming down the pipe is going to inevitably fuel the flames of distrust in the institution of the US government. And that, my friend, is no trivial thing.
I should also state clearly for the record that in our research, AARO has found no credible evidence thus far of extraterrestrial activity, off-world technology, or objects that defy the known laws of physics. In the event sufficient scientific data were ever obtained that a UAP encountered can only be explained by extraterrestrial origin, we are committed to working with our interagency partners at NASA to appropriately inform U.S. government's leadership.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No.
Houston, we have a problem. Here's the deal. In no particular order, the 3 witnesses that will be present on July 26 are aviator Ryan Graves, who was in the Navy for at least 10 years. He, other aviators in his squadron, and other aviators in other squadrons witnessed strange objects almost daily from the summer of 2014 to March 2015, high in the skies over the East Coast. The other witness will be Commander David Fravor, former squadron leader for the VFA 41 Black Aces. And the aviator, as far as we know, that got within closest proximity to the Tic Tac UFO during the Nimitz UFO event series that happened in November of 2004. Finally, UFO whistleblower David Grusch will be in the hearing, and we already played a clip of him. He was an intelligence officer for 14 years, and at one point was extremely highly cleared and trusted to receive the most guarded secrets of the U.S. national security establishment. Now, moments ago, I said, Houston, we have a problem. And the reason for that can be understood by sharing Lou Elizondo's tweet that dropped today. Friends, to allay any concerns, Chris Mellon and I are still very much in the fight. This is now the 2nd hearing of many to come. There is a time, place, and purpose for everything we do. In the meantime, let's be thankful for the courage of Congresspersons Burchett and Luna for their historic efforts. So I guess what I'm getting at is that when and if, because I always preface that I could be wrong, but when and if the cover-up fully unravels, the unmistakable interpretation that not only is every American going to have, but the world at large is going to have, is how over the top and corrupt the UFO cover-up truly was. And that's going to be terrible PR for the United States government and inevitably other governments that took part in the cover-up as well. Now, ABC News published an interview yesterday with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who is the director of AARO, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the UFO investigative office in the Pentagon that the United States Congress instituted. And he made some really interesting comments that seem to contradict a lot of what's going on right now when it comes to UFO whistleblowers coming forward and testifying under oath that there's a UFO crash retrieval program with recovered alien spaceships, as silly as that sounds. And it's direct witnesses, not hearsay, but people who claim they are directly involved in these programs, have the clearances to go along with it. So these are serious people with high-level clearances, have everything to lose by making these assertions. So we have like this sort of contradiction going on. And as you may have recalled from Elizondo's tweet, he said that there's going to be many more hearings. And so I anticipate, based upon what I've seen, that even though in this upcoming hearing we're not having any direct witnesses from the program, where allegedly there's a program in the United States government, I guess run by an aerospace company, a contractor, but it's funded by the U.S. government, where they recover alien spaceships that have crashed. And when these witnesses come forward, which they will, they've already come forward, they've testified under oath to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community's office and to staffers of the Senate under oath. This has already been achieved, and then this is going to escalate to where we have future hearings where these people are testifying publicly and saying, yes, this crash retrievals programs happens. All the while, we have Sean Kirkpatrick giving us different indicators, which is just a little bit awkward. But in that interview that ABC ran, Kirkpatrick was interviewed by Devin Dwyer. Devin Dwyer asked Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, is it possible there is some secret program that you're just not aware of? To which Kirkpatrick responded, I don't think so. I have access to anything and everything I need. And from what I understand, that's true. While he doesn't have Title 50 authority, he does have Title 10 authority. And even in the News Nation interview with David Grusch, Grusch said he has the capacity to reach the same conclusions I do by just doing the investigation. And he said it's crazy that he's not doing the investigation to reach those analysis, those assessments. So from what I've garnered, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, while he doesn't have Title 50 authority, he does have Title 10 authority. And Title 10 authority would give him access to get read in to whatever program he needs to. What Title 50 authority does is you can task those programs to do things on your behalf. But you don't need Title 50 authority to get read into those programs. From what I've heard from people that are knowledgeable, Title 10 authority is sufficient to get read into those programs. So this is really, really strange. And I'm going to play a clip from that interview where he says he has heard from 30 witnesses.
Why do you think these whistleblowers are coming forward?
Well, one, I think the recent law, which extended whistleblower protections to them and named AARO as the authorized disclosure authority, opens the door for them to come and tell us exactly what they think they saw or know about.
You believe them?
I believe that they believe what they're telling me, and my job is it's not a question of belief, right? It's a question of what can I go research.
Sean Kirkpatrick said, I believe they believe what they're telling me, but it's not about belief for me. I just got to do the research. Well, the question everyone wants to know is, have you adequately exerted yourself to do that research to ascertain whether or not there is truth to these allegations about UFO crash retrieval program, a UFO cover-up, recovered alien craft, recovered biological specimens, and so forth. Now, in the following clip, Marco Rubio, who is a member of the Senate, part of the Gang of Eight, so among the most powerful lawmakers in the United States, he boils down the situation so beautifully here.
I know this question is a little out there. Is there any truth to any of this?
Well, we don't know. All I've said is we have people that have very high clearances, both today and in the past, who did really important work for our government or continue to do important work for the government, who have come forward with some claims about the U.S. having in the past recovered exotic materials and then reverse engineered those materials to make advances in our own defenses and technologies. That's the claim they make. Now, I don't know if those claims are true or not. What I do know is that one of two things is happening here. Either they're telling the truth, and that is something that obviously would be the biggest story in human history, or we have people in really important positions of government who are crazy and who are out there making up stories and who are still in positions of importance. Either one is a big problem. So we've got to figure out which one of these two it is, because the second one in particular would be very troubling. But we don't. All we know is claims that people have made. These are credible people that have done and continue to do important work for the country. And by law, we're required when they come forward as whistleblowers to take their claims seriously and to investigate them. But we just don't know. That's the answer.
Before we go any further, I want you to know that I'll be live streaming an hour before the July 26, 10 a.m. UFO hearing. So if you want to watch me discuss what's been going on the past few weeks, going deep into it, covering the newly proposed legislation that has the phrase non-human intelligence included 26 times, then I highly recommend you click the first link below where you can set a reminder so that you help yourself not forget that an hour before the hearing on July 26 at 9 a.m. to about 10 a.m., I will be live streaming, and I hope to see you there. I might live stream the actual hearing as well, but that's something I need to play by ear. Let's continue. In the following clip, the host Elizabeth Vargas asks Ross Coulthart what the UFO witness David Grusch's mentality is going into this upcoming July 26 UFO hearing, and she references that David Grusch will be under oath, and I think that makes a difference.
He will now tell his story under oath to Congress. How do you think he'll hold up under questioning?
He's really looking forward to it, Elizabeth. This is a unique opportunity for an intelligence officer who's operated at a very high level inside the US military and intelligence establishment to reveal for the first time what he actually knows.
Ross goes on to explain that he's still held under classification, so there are things he cannot share. And then Elizabeth Vargas says, well, he's shared so much publicly, and what he was able to share publicly is still amazing. And then she goes on to say that David Grusch did not see the alien spacecraft, for example. He was only told that they exist. And then in the following clip, Ross Coulthart responds to that. But what I will say is that, yes, it's been secondhand, but the documents that he says he read were not secondhand. They were official documents presenting the reality of a UFO crash retrieval program. And further, there were other people who testified to the Inspector General of the intelligence community and congressional staffers under oath who were not secondhand, but claimed they were part of the program and corroborated what David Grusch has stated. And from what I understand, David Grusch doesn't even know who some of those people are. So it does appear to me that with all of the smoke that is emerging now, there likely is some fire.
But it's all based on secondhand information. He didn't actually see this non-human aircraft himself. He says he was told about it. Isn't that a problem?
I don't think it is, no. I mean, I think this hearing that we're going to see next week is the beginning of multiple hearings. I think you're going to see a slow rollout of witnesses, including first-hand witnesses who are prepared to testify. This is getting a momentum now.
So in light of whether or not Dave Grusch has first-hand knowledge of the allegations that he makes regarding alien spaceships that have been recovered, journalist Gail Lombard wrote the following on Twitter, and I think it's highly relevant, so I'm going to read it. Since David Grusch's story came out, I've been a little bit surprised by an assertion, quote unquote, this is hearsay, secondhand info, unquote. I am one of the few journalists to have interviewed him so far. I must say that it doesn't seem so clear. When I asked David Grusch, have you seen any material yourself? He answered, I have seen very interesting things that I'm not allowed to speak publicly about quite yet. I have not an approval from Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. I certainly viewed some things with my own eyes, but I can't give too much details yet, David Grusch. Then Gale goes on to say, obviously I am skeptical and I don't believe everything I'm told, but I was amazed that the quote-unquote hearsay stuff about David Grusch was spreading so much. One can't be so categorical for now. On July 20th, Lou Elizondo dropped a tweet communicating that we don't have the whole story on whistleblower David Grusch and that he has received firsthand information, which up to this point is kind of an open question. Here, Lou Elizondo writes on July 20th, Chris, you are 100% correct. I know Grusch personally, and he's an American treasure. I fully expect the system to react to him the same way it did to me, but don't be fooled. He is exactly who he says he is. Americans in the world have a right to know. To which Marcus Wolf responded, and he has zero firsthand info, zero. He heard from a person he can't name. Big, you-know-what deal. So Lou Elizondo responds to Marcus Wolf and writes, you are wrong. You don't know the full story. Have a good day. So from this context, Elizondo appears to be saying that David Grusch did receive firsthand information. Let's share Chris Mellon's take on this upcoming hearing while we're at it. These two tweets dropped on July 20th. Chris Mellon writes, I've known Dave Grusch for years and can say without hesitation that he is sincere, authentic, and someone who most certainly deserves a fair hearing. The leads he and others are providing should enable an interested Congress to determine the truth regarding long-standing allegations of recovered alien tech. I look forward to the hearing and hope that members and their staff are preparing thoughtful questions given the unprecedented nature of this opportunity. He continues, I think one of the outcomes of this hearing will be that Congress will come to understand the necessity of a congressionally led investigation to bridge the chasm between whistleblower allegations and AARO's denials. A good start would be for Congress to ask the Intelligence Community Inspector General what info it has already uncovered. So yesterday, Representative Burchett of Tennessee and his colleagues held a press conference on the upcoming Oversight Committee hearing on UAPs. And I'll tell you who was there during that press conference. Jared Moskowitz, Representative Florida, Democrat. Anna Paulina Luna, Representative Florida, Republican. Eric Wayne Burleson, Representative Illinois, Republican. And of course, Tim Burchett, Representative Tennessee, Republican. And it was a remarkable press conference, and I'll link to it below if you want to watch the whole thing. But and I should say that the first hearing we had in over, I think, about 54 years was held in May of 2022. Then we had another hearing in April of 2023. Some people considered that more of a briefing than a hearing. And now, of course, we're going to have a hearing on July 26th. But in the following clip from that press conference, Tim Burchett talks about how this hearing is going to be different from the previous two that have already transpired.
Last year, the House Intelligence Committee held a hearing on UAPs. They brought in some Pentagon bureaucrats who only had two answers to the questions they were asked. I don't know, or that's classified. This hearing is going to be different. We're going to have witnesses who can speak frankly to the public about their experiences. We've had a heck of a lot of pushback about this hearing. We've had members of Congress who fought us. We've had members of the intelligence community and also the Pentagon. Even NASA backed out on us. There are a lot of people who don't want this to come to light. I've even tried to introduce an amendment to the Federal Aviation Administration Reauthorization Bill, and all that would do would require the Federal Aviation Administration to report UAP sightings by commercial pilots to Congress. The intelligence, I was told the intelligence community shut it down. This is ridiculous, folks. They do exist or they don't exist. They keep telling us they don't exist, but they block every opportunity for us to get a hold of the information to prove that they do exist. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, dadgummit, whatever the truth may be. We're done with the cover-up.
So at the end of that clip, Representative Burchett said, "We're done with the cover-up," which really is the theme of this entire press conference. Everyone there basically communicates that the United States government is not being transparent to the American public about the UFO enigma. And it should be noted that this is not just these representatives that have this position. If you look at the newly proposed legislation spearheaded by, I believe, the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, in that legislation, non-human intelligence is written 26 times, as it is, at least that's what Ross Coulthart said. It's written a ton of times, even if he got that off. And so this is not like, oh, these are just fringe people in the Congress. No, the entire Congress, it appears, that are interested in this topic, that are part of oversight, most of them seem to very strongly hold the position that the Department of Defense is not being transparent to the American public. And you'll notice that Tim Burchett said that that NASA pulled out. That's going to be relevant to an argument that I'll be making further into this discussion. The following clip, Representative Luna speaks.
For decades, countless of Americans have questioned our government's lack of transparency regarding UAPs in our nation's airspace. These same questions have been echoed by many leaders on a bipartisan basis, from Jimmy Carter to Barack Obama, from Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump, from Marco Rubio to Chuck Schumer, from the former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, to current officials at the National Security Council. They have all called for disclosure of UAPs. If this was a court case, the court would be compelled to take up the thousands of testimonies, images, videos, and eyewitness accounts from doctors, pilots, scientists, and active duty service members. The status quo on the part of the U.S. government has been to leave the American people in the dark regarding information of UAPs. They refuse to answer questions posed by whistleblowers, avoiding the concerns of Americans, and acknowledging that the possible threat of UAP poses to our national security as well as public safety. It is extremely unnecessary and an overclassification. If the last few months have taught me anything, especially in investigating this, it is that this issue is in the hands of the American people and they deserve answers.
Notice that Representative Luna said they refuse to answer questions posed by whistleblowers. That will be applicable to an argument that I'm building up to in this current presentation. Further into this press conference that is for the upcoming July 26 UFO hearing, Representative Luna said they went to Eglin Air Force Base. Her, Representative Burchett, and Representative Gates all went to Eglin Air Force Base, that's in the panhandle of Florida. And she stated that they were blocked by the Pentagon as well as the Air Force to get information from whistleblowers on UFOs. But that incident is beyond the scope of this video, but I will likely discuss that in my pre-show to the hearing, which there's a link to in the description. It's the first link. And you can set a reminder. It's scheduled for 9 a.m. Eastern, July 26th, an hour before the hearing. Here, Representative Burleson discusses UFO whistleblower David Grusch, who will be one of the witnesses on July 26th.
Next week's hearing is about transparency. Like many Americans, I read David Grusch's story when it first came out and watched the TV interviews. I was struck by the sheer amount of detail. So I was able to contact him and hear directly from him in a lengthy phone call interview. And after speaking with him, I was convinced that the American people deserve to hear from him directly. That's why I asked Chairman Comer to hold this hearing. And I'm grateful that the chairman has decided to hold a hearing so that we can ask questions and get the answers that the American people deserve. It is time for transparency.
In the last clip I'll share from this press conference, Representative Tim Burchett conveys that the cover-up cannot persist much longer under the current environment.
It's too big right now, and I don't believe they can keep their thumb in the dam too much longer, because people are coming forward at too rapid of a rate.
Now, it's absolutely true that people are coming out of the woodworks. People with high-level clearances, people that are current employees with the U.S. government, are coming forward at a very rapid rate and testifying, sometimes under oath, that there are illegal UFO programs that have forensic proof that we're not alone. Even ex-aviator Ryan Graves, former aviator Ryan Graves, and his organization are getting whistleblowers coming forward to them. It's unbelievable. And so I do assess that, as Tim Burchett stated, they really can't continue putting their thumb on the dam, keeping this information from spilling over and the public getting up to speed on the truth of what has been true about our universe, but was concealed from the public by interests within U.S. government and even contractors working on behalf of the U.S. government. In the opening clip, Representative Burchett said that NASA pulled out. It's not completely clear to me the accurate dynamics of that situation, but let's go into some tweets where NASA actually responds to this allegation, and that is going to be very relevant for my closing argument in this video. Darren Warren writes, "Why did you back out of the July 26th House Oversight Committee hearing on UAPs? This is an opportunity to be transparent with the American people. Thank you for your answer, and I continue to look forward to your parallel investigation on UAPs at NASA." NASA responds, NASA was not requested to participate in the United States House Committee's hearing on UAP. David Spergel, president of the Simons Foundation and chair of NASA's UAP independent study, was invited but declined to attend, since the work of the independent study team is not due to be completed until later in the coming weeks. The report will contain a series of recommendations for NASA to better evaluate and categorize the nature of UAPs. You can learn more here. And then journalist Matt Laszlo writes, either Tim Burchett lied to me or NASA is lying in regards to the hearings. What Burchett's told us thus far has checked out. NASA, here we come. Hashtag FOIA. Joe Murgia chimes in and writes, I don't think either one is lying. Just looks like Burchett may have used NASA a little too loosely, as Spergel isn't officially part of NASA. Technicality? Earlier I talked about how whistleblowers were even coming forward to Lieutenant Ryan Graves. I want to give more clarification on that. In the following clip, Marnie Hughes talks to Ryan Graves, and Graves goes into this with relative detail.
And I know that your foundation, Americans for Safe Aerospace, has recently started the UAP Witness campaign. What's the mission there for you? What do you hope to see come of that and achieve?
Well, we didn't start Americans for Safe Aerospace with the intent of receiving whistleblower witnesses reports, but that's what we've received. As it turns out, there are individuals looking to take advantage of some of the whistleblower laws that have come about in Congress, although there is no public-facing mechanism in order to help these folks take advantage of that legislation. I've taken advantage of what I've seen, or I should say, not the whistleblower laws, but I have come forward as a whistleblower, and I have walked that path. And so I've been guiding other folks in that process, and we've essentially had enough people come forward that we've had to turn this into a regular process. We've made contacts at various people on Capitol Hill so that we can forward our best cases to the appropriate people. And we're looking to do that simply because the people are out there, they're reaching out to us, and we're certainly not going to ignore these people.
Yeah.
So I want to reiterate something Representative Tim Burchett said in that press conference I've been showing you clips of. He said, I don't believe that is those who are in charge of the secrecy on UFOs, can keep their thumb in the dam too much longer, because people are coming forward at too rapid of a rate. And I assess that that is the accurate truth. They're coming from so many different directions. They're credentialed. Some of them are currently working for the U.S. government, have high level security clearances. They really don't have anything to gain by coming forward with these allegations. And we are on the precipice of a hearing for July 26. And Representative Luna said in one of her statements during the press conference, they refuse to answer questions posed by whistleblowers, which I interpret as, are they really responding to the allegations of the whistleblowers? Now, we already covered that NASA responded to the allegations of Tim Burchett that they pulled out of this upcoming hearing. And I just found out on Twitter that Eglin Air Force Base just responded to the allegations made by Representative Burchett and Luna, that they were not providing the information that they said they would regarding UFOs. So, hitting home my thesis, if you will, it is very plausible that in this upcoming hearing, some of the people questioning the witnesses may say something like, is the U.S. government lying to the American public about UFOs? Now, if this question is posed, do you know what someone like who is going to be a witness on this upcoming hearing, someone like David Grusch, is going to respond? How is he going to respond to that question? Has the U.S. government been lying to the American public about UFOs? He's going to say unequivocally yes. And this hearing is under oath. He will be sworn in prior to the beginning of the hearing. I got validation of that. I'm 90% sure that that's the case. So that gives it more weight. So my point is that the United States is going to find itself progressively in a worse and worse situation as this unravels in terms of public relations. Because this upcoming hearing is not the end of the saga, merely the beginning. We heard journalist Ross Coulthart say there's going to be many more hearings and first-hand witnesses are going to testify, presumably under oath. So what happens when you get hearing after hearing after hearing, and the rhetoric is the United States is a bunch of liars, misleading the public about UAP? Can they remain silent in the midst of these allegations by people who were either working for the U.S. government, work for the U.S. government, work for private contractors, have high-level security clearances, can go to jail or be fined for lying under oath? Is the United States going to be silent in the face of these allegations? I don't know. But what I can say, if the United States government remains silent in the face of such allegations from a vast array of people with credentials and high-level security clearances, the conspiracy theories are going to spread like wildfire. So what I anticipate is going to happen is basically one of two things. If this is all just a big misunderstanding and the U.S. government hasn't been lying about UFOs for the past 70 to 90 years, they're going to have like a joint announcement, proclamation by the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of Defense. That's Avril Haines and Lloyd Austin. They're going to get behind the podium and they're going to say all these witnesses are full of stuff. Right? Or this is going to lead to some kind of admission that we have not had yet, that what these whistleblowers are saying is true. But the U.S. government's not going to remain silent. Don't pull that on me. Of course they're not going to remain silent. At a certain point, they're going to have to speak up, just like NASA spoke up, right? NASA responded to the allegations of Representative Luna and Representative Burchett. Eglin Air Force Base, as I found out today, responded to the allegations of Representative Luna and Representative Burchett. And as these hearings persist and continue, and I would not be surprised at all if more people from the U.S. government come forward. Remember, in the article that broke this story with David Grusch from the debrief.org, it was corroborated by two other people. A guy that was a colonel, Carl E. Nell, vouched for what David Grusch stated. Also, I think a guy named Jonathan Gray, who is a current employee for the U.S. government with, I think, NASIC, National something Intelligence Center, National Air and Space Intelligence Center, maybe. He said over the course of his career, he's been briefed about UFO crash retrievals, and that what David Grusch is saying is true. Now, is that the end of the saga, or are more officials going to come forward, even beyond people testifying under oath at hearings? I don't think it's the end of the saga. I think there's a UFO cover-up. I think it's coming to a head. I think that what Representative Burchett said is probably true, but I could be wrong. And I quote, "I don't believe they can keep their thumb in the dam too much longer because people are coming forward at too rapid of a rate." Now, that's all I wanted to say. This hearing will be historical. And I want to push back at people who want to give me a hard time for my title. As it stands now, I plan for the title to be something like UFO Hearing Preview, The World Will Change Forever. I do think the world will change forever. Change. I didn't say we'd get disclosure. I didn't say they would give us photographs of flying saucers, although Representative Tim Burchett did say we might get new videos during this upcoming hearing. I'm just saying the world will change forever. Yes, I believe that. Because when we look at the historical process that has been unfolding before us, which I call, and which many call the disclosure process, it can be perceived as a bunch of little puzzle pieces, right? Puzzle piece there, puzzle piece there. And it has been escalating. And metaphorically, once all those puzzle pieces are put together, that inevitably leads to disclosure. So this upcoming hearing is a part of the process leading to the inevitable outcome. So I feel fully justified to say that this upcoming hearing will change the world forever, just as when intelligence officer Lou Elizondo came out of the Pentagon in 2017, that changed the world forever. When 14-year intelligence officer David Grusch came out of the government. I think he came out of the government in April, very recently, and then the debrief.org article dropped on June 5th, I believe. That changed the world forever. These little pieces are changing the world, but the culmination, of course, will be UFO confirmation, where we are given smoking gun evidence, even beyond admissions by the U.S. government, that we're not alone and we're being engaged by non-human intelligence, and that is what I believe is inevitable. And some people have said, oh, well, we're not going to learn anything new with this upcoming hearing. Well, that depends upon the questions asked. We might learn something new. But most people don't know who Commander David Fravor is. Most people don't know who Lieutenant Ryan Graves is. Most people don't know who former intelligence officer David Grusch is. But after this hearing, throngs of new people will learn who they are, and the media will cover it like wildfire. We'll enter a new set of stories and coverage and investigative journalism, and it will just fuel the flames of where this is all headed. I rest my case. And please don't forget, An hour before the hearing at 9 a.m. Eastern, July 26th, I'll be holding a pre-show. Link is in the description. Set the reminder, and we'll have a tea party when that time arrives. And I'll cover a lot of the new groundbreaking legislation that is mind-blowing. Sorry for talking like a complete freak, but please don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot happening. You want to subscribe to this channel and keep up to date on all the historical events, don't you? And if you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. You could become a patron. You could become a YouTube member. You could give me a one-time donation. All of those possibilities can be accessed in the description below, or you can just slap a like on this bad boy, and I'll appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching. I just love talking like a complete weirdo, and I will see you in the next episode. Special thanks to all patrons, YouTube members, those that have bought merch, those that have given me a one-time donation. I couldn't do without you. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.